And I'd been there 5 months, Chris, when I had that a life-defining accident that should have been fatal.
Wow, John, that is an amazing story. And even before you go into that life-changing event, I just have a quick follow-up question, which was this. It's interesting how you reached everybody, I think, maybe even your own definition of success. It sounds like 3 or 4 different times in your life. And you got to that very definition of success, and there was something within you, some value that wasn't being honored, that made you step back and say, this isn't quite it. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Kim, that's such a great question. Why did I go through all these job career changes? I got to tell you, from the outside, right, I'd started 2 nonprofits, one in the political world, and was on a number of the marquee boards of directors here in Colorado. Business-wise, the home we had was just this beautiful home, driving Range Rovers, taking vacations. So from the outside, everybody thought, Ramstead's, he's doing great, and I was miserable. I couldn't even tell you why. What I would call it at this point, looking back, would be smoldering discontent. And I think what happened is I was so because I had that relationship with God that was just on fire early on when I was 27. And as I went through my corporate career, Kim, and I had these successes in business and closed these huge deals, and had each year the paycheck was bigger and bigger, I started giving myself credit. I started to do the planning and saying, here's my plan for next year. And I would get done with it, and I'd kind of lift it up in prayer and say, God, here's my plan. Please bless it. And if it went well, I'd be like, hey, thanks, big guy. And if it didn't go well, I'd be like, seriously, come on. I'm a good guy, but I was not. I think before the accident, I probably had shared my faith or any kind of testimony with 5 or 6 people my whole life. It became very clear to me, really looking at it in retrospect, that I had not connected with the person that God created in me early on, before the world was even formed, and what he wanted me to be doing, right? I was already in his camp, but I was not being effective. And I think it was that disconnect for me that had really led to that discontent. And Donna, my wife, just said, sometimes you just weren't happy. You're just grumpy. You have all this going on, and you're just not pleasant to be around a lot of the time. And that's where I was kind of going into this. I think I was really seeking fulfillment going into this new entrepreneurial venture just to fill that hole, but I'd never slowed down enough to say, what is this hole? Where are these longings coming from? What would contentment, fulfillment even look like? I didn't even know how to ask those questions, quite frankly.
Wow.